What's up, y'all? It's Raw Natty Nate coming to you from Lissa's studio. And we're just going to make a quick little video here about just kind of what's happening in the vegan world.
Yes.
So, hope you all enjoy.
Hello,
Hey,
friends!
what's up, you guys?
So happy to be on our live today.
Hey,
thank
and
you
it's
for
St.
joining.
Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day!
I mean, for those people who celebrate
I'm
St.
wearing
Patrick's
green.
Day, hey,
You
got a little green. I got some
on.
green, but we'll still pinch each other. Ow!
Thank you for joining us for this live. This one here, we are actually recording a YouTube video at the same time. It is going to be in address to all of the stuff that's been happening.
All the action in the arena. Yeah, not necessarily directed at one person or 3 or 5 in particular people, but just kind of where we stand and the concepts that are crossing our minds.
Yeah, our observations, what we would do in those situations. We're here more to reassure you guys basically what we are seeing happening and what we would do personally if we were in any of those situations.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know. So if you guys have questions, you can post them in the live, but we will be more focused on our YouTube video. So we will try to read some of the comments and I'll address them as we go.
Sounds great.
But yeah, so interesting stuff.
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff. So let's get right into it.
We are vegan.
And we will continue to stay vegan.
Yes, you will not see us consuming animals or their products at any given time.
No.
We don't want to be doing that. We don't want to fall into that realm. We're going to do everything in our power to stay vegan because we value our ethics.
And realistically, there is no other way. We can literally, the science is out. We can't sustain life on this planet the way that we are right now.
If we were all eating fish and eggs, that's still going to be an incredible burden on our fishing and stuff. And now I know there's people out there who say that, you know, the sustainable way of doing things is okay and all this kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, we're still killing an animal, which I disagree with, which you disagree with. When it all comes down to it, it's still not healthy for us.
Definitely.
So it doesn't really matter what angle people come at it, what their justifications might be to consuming animal products or going back to consuming animal products. We just disagree on all angles, environmental, ethical, and health-wise.
Definitely.
So there are solutions to all kinds of things that might be issues. Hi, guys. I wanted to talk about the female cycle because that came up in a few things too. And with my story, I have been raw now for 4.5 years. I have not cheated. I did have 3 cooked meals right at the very beginning when I started. I had a raw till 4 day just to try it out. This was before I was on YouTube, before I was on social media or anything. So I tried out a raw till 4 day and I was like, it wasn't that great. So I just never did it again. Then when I was in Mexico about a month later, this was maybe 4 months into my raw journey, I was basically kind of limited. Then there was no raw salads. And in retrospect, now if I was in those shoes, I would have been like, bring on the raw salad. I would have went to the chef and asked for that. But at the time I was fearful, I was scared, I didn't know how to approach them and ask. So I had some cooked vegan stuff at a buffet. But that has been the only cooked food that I've eaten in the last 4.5 years. I don't sway, I don't flip-flop back and forth between cooked and raw. I choose raw because that's my consistency. I want to be consistent. And what you were saying earlier on many of our lives and chats that we've done is that if you want to eat junk food, then be a junk food vegan. And you're just going to deal with the consequences of being a junk food vegan, or be raw. Like, don't flip-flop back and forth, because it's just going to cause so many gut issues.
Right. So many issues. Yeah, and there's all these amazing transitional foods out there, they're vegan products. They're saving animals' lives. It's not necessarily, it's not for everybody to want to be as healthy as they can be. Some people just want to have beer and, have a burger.
Yeah.
And you can be a vegan and have that. But if you're starting your day off with high fruit, lots of, smoothies, and then lunchtime is, salads, and then, dinner time you're going off the deep end and you're drinking whiskey and having, Beyond Sausage or something, you're probably going to end up having a little bit of issues there, because there's definitely some struggles happening in the gut.
Yeah, those poor gut bacteria.
Yeah.
But when I went raw, and since I was 13, so I started my female cycle when I was 13, and I would go anywhere from 3 to 9 months on average without having a cycle. So it would be like months and months and months before I'd get one, and they were always extremely painful, and I did all kinds of things, because I was in the natural health industry since 2001.
Yeah.
So I was exposed to a lot of things, homeopathics and different, like the seed cycling, where you're having like progesterone favoring seeds 1 or 2 weeks, and then other estrogen favoring seeds for the other 2 weeks to try and train your body to secrete certain hormones at certain times. And so all kinds of things I tried. Herbal remedies, pharmaceutical remedies. I tried all kinds of things to get my period back to regular, and nothing was working the way I wanted it to. Until I went raw. But it took 7 to 8 months before my periods became monthly. And for the last 4 years, I would say almost 4 years, I have had monthly cycles.
Gotcha.
And the thing is, I eat enough. I think that a lot of people, when they go on to raw, and we see this all the time, people aren't eating enough. They're eating small salads. They feel full, they're not getting enough calories in, and this is what's causing a lot of the missed cycles, including water fasting, which is something that we need to talk about.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Not eating enough is so huge, and when you're switching up into your lifestyle and you're eating more raw foods. Yeah, if you're not putting into Chronometer or some kind of a Fitbit app or something so you can actually see the calories that you are ingesting, if you're not sitting down and having a head, at least a full head, not a heart, of romaine lettuce for your salad, you're going to be missing some things there for sure. Yeah, but if you're not typing in, that's one thing that really helped me was and I still do type in let's just see what I'm going to eat today. And I'm like, oh, good. I'm actually hitting my numbers pretty well. I'm like, oh my gosh, my fat today was 22%,
Yeah. That's another thing too. A lot of these people who are maybe possibly going back to eating animal products, their gut health is what is like the main thing. So we want to address a couple things with that. And what you mentioned about the high fat is that there was a study released saying that anything over 20% total calories coming from fats can cause gut dysbiosis.
Right.
So this is another thing.
It's all compiling.
Yeah. So when you're eating those vegan junk foods and you're cheating or here and there, whatever, like that is going to cause gut dysbiosis.
Yeah.
Not only the fact that it's processed food, but also that it's high fat.
Right.
And it's not as hydrating. And it's not as fibrous, and there's all these reasons that come into play.
Yeah, and then some people, they say if they, want to transition, like, Nate, how can I do this? I want to eat more raw, but I want to have a cooked meal too. And of course, I'm like, well, you could do raw till 4, but that's not ideal because there's that whole thing happening inside. You're kind of having an internal struggle. Yeah,
and another thing, if you do want to have those cooked foods, I think if it was in my shoes, or if I was in those shoes, I would have a huge raw salad and have a small amount of cooked food in the salad to kind of help out with that. If you feel like you still need to have those cooked foods or you still want to incorporate them.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that a lot of the cooked food, unless you're doing like boiled potatoes, like sweet potatoes, or just like plain old wild rice or something, most people don't eat that. For the most part, lots do, but they're eating like buttery potatoes or Beyond burgers or stuff like that, which are causing a lot of gut issues.
So this like flip-flopping, not knowing what to pick, and it's really, that's a tricky one. That's a tricky pill to swallow because you're thinking, okay, I can never have say you're vegan. I can never have vegan pizza again if I want to go raw. It wouldn't be optimum.
Yeah, you can have it,
You
but
totally
you have
can.
to realize that you might have issues from that.
Most likely you're going to have issues because there's an internal battle happening with which gut flora should be fed, the most.
Yeah. So we will always be vegan.
Hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's interesting because if we're talking about, say we had some issues come up and we needed to, say we did something ridiculous. We're not sick. We're feeling amazing. Our skin is great. Our energy's high, but we're like, you know what? Well, let's cleanse deeper.
Yeah.
And let's go on a juice fast.
Or a water fast.
Or even more extreme, a water fast. And I'm not talking like, come on, let's not do just a weekend. Let's do a month.
Or no, we should try to be in competition with everybody else on the trend, and we should do 47 days.
Right.
Because that's going to be...
Then, what's going to happen what's happening when we do that? Now, and we're not sick. We're not like... I mean, fasting has its place.
Yes, it definitely does. The only 2 times that animals in the wild, for the most part, fast is when they're sick and dying and when there's no food around. So they're fasting while they're looking for food.
So fasting has its place. People who are fighting for their life, they're, trying to get their body switched over from extreme acidosis to more of an alkaline system. They're cutting out all the funk. They're going fasting super extreme, and done properly and refeeding properly after the fast. Because if you're on a 40-day fast, 20-plus day fast, you can't just break that fast in 3 days, be back to eating.
Or even a week.
Even a week. I mean, literally, it should be almost twice as long as the fast. Because you're having... What's happening? Let's discuss what's happening when...
The thing that we've observed, and this is all observation, we're just kind of giving our 2 cents on what we're seeing happening, is there is a common thread among people who are having these issues, and it's mainly gut originating. When you go on a water fast, specifically water fast, juice fasts as well, because you're not adding any fiber into the diet. You are consuming nutrition, but you're not consuming fiber. So what happens in the colon, in the small intestine, specifically the
small intestine,
there is no movement that goes on, because this peristalsis is what moves everything through your colon. When you fast, this stops. When this stops, the bacteria that is in your small intestine stays in your small intestine.
It's not moving
then
through.
It starts to grow because there's no movement. And this is why I have never been pro-fasting. I don't promote it on my page. If people want to fast, that's their prerogative. I recommend, if you do want to fast, to go somewhere where people can be monitored by a health practitioner and tested for things like SIBO, because it's more common than people think.
Right.
And it happens when you don't eat enough food and when things aren't moving through your colon properly. So this bacteria is sitting in your small intestine and it starts to grow. And I think, honestly, juice fasting isn't as great because there's no fiber that's going through, and that sugar is feeding that bacteria. So when they eventually get off the juice fast, and you might feel great because you're not consuming all this other junk, right? So you feel like,
it is a rest. It's a rest for the digestive system.
Yeah. But you're also not eating the gunk.
You're
you're like, I feel great because I'm not eating the gunk. It's not necessarily the fast. It's the fact that you've omitted all of these other imposter foods.
Yeah.
So when you start to refeed and you're eating, or if you break your fast too fast, or you don't have a solid foundation to go back to, you might experience some digestive upset in the next couple of months or years even. It can take people years to recover from a fast if they're not sick. The thing is, we are in competition with everybody else. And water fasting is a trend, and it should be taken with extreme respect.
Right.
Because it's not supposed to be for people who are healthy. Exactly. If you're healthy, your body's gonna be cleansing anyways, right? So this is a problem, and when you have this overgrowth of bacteria, one of the solutions is to take antibiotics. Now, Would you take antibiotics if you had a severe, serious health issue?
You know, if I couldn't, say, hit it up with the proper herbs, you know, Chinese herbs, antibacterial herbs, garlic, and it was starting to become an issue, like a really good issue where I'm struggling. I would take the antibiotics.
I would too.
Because, you know, we can refeed our gut with probiotics, you know, through a vegan probiotic, vegan being there's no gelatin in that cap. We can,
and it's not grown on like a dairy,
a dairy farm. And as well as, you know, there's ways to, you know, make your own probiotics. You know, now kimchi, kombucha, these kind of things that know that they have probiotics in them, that could be kind of wreaking havoc on our gut as well. But what's interesting is, say, before any of us kind of went on the health journey and the health and wellness, you know, journey, we were probably all eating the same standard diet.
Yeah.
And our bodies were able to function. And we got sick, we may have taken antibiotics, you know, ear infection, and our bodies they're surviving. I mean, our bodies are so amazing. As we walk down the street, it's really fascinating to see people, you know, what they're carrying their paper bag lunch and a coffee, and their body's functioning. Sometimes I wonder, like, how is it that our bodies can even function the way that we treat them?
These machines are absolutely amazing. We put them through so much stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I would take the antibiotic.
So would I.
Because that would nip it in the bud.
And then we can rebuild after that.
Then it's a rebuild. And say we did have SIBO.
Yeah.
You know, there's a vegan, plant-based protocol. And you stick with the plant-based protocol, because I would rather, you know, basically where my moral standards are is I would rather die and not live this life that I'm living than to ingest more death and to help the destruction, because I'm voting for this, you know. Like I would rather just, that's kind of where my moral standards are, you know. I would rather die. Now, I can't necessarily, I'm not on my deathbed, so that's a really tough one to say. But I have had friends who have been on their deathbed who came back stronger and healthier, and that's the mindset they had. And that right then, when I heard that story, I'm like, I'm adopting that. I'm adopting that method. You know, I'm not going to go against my morals and my ethics because, you know, I'm thinking only of myself. But I believe that Western medicine, there's definitely a place for Western medicine.
Definitely is a place. And a lot of people have all these fears. And we did a Instagram live with Ronnie from the UK Fruit Fest, and he mentioned something really interesting. He said, why is like trying to be super pure or clean and not taking antibiotics and not taking pharmaceuticals and things like that more important than their ethics or their morals? Like, I personally I don't want to die. So I will take the antibiotics if I had to survive, but I won't go back to foods that I know are causing more harm than good.
It's just basically it's a stronger military you're bringing in to fight an infection.
Yeah, exactly.
You're calling in like the heavy artillery. Now, our bodies are resilient. They're so resilient. It's, like I said, it's amazing they even function the way that we, as a whole population, treat our bodies. It's a wonder that it's a wonder that we're even able to get out of bed. The way that we, you know, drank a pint of whiskey the night before with our friends down at the bar. You know,
a whole large pizza.
Imagine today is St. Patty's Day. This is one of the biggest days for alcohol sales worldwide. I mean, we're wreaking havoc on our systems. But yeah, when we come into this purist kind of mindset, like, okay, you know, I mean, when you're raw vegan,
you're already cutting out so much.
You're really, and you have that mindset. You're like, I want to be as pure and as healthy and, you know, optimize every system as I can.
And people want to go back to nature, right? That's the whole premise of it. Like, we're going back to the most natural thing that we possibly can be. But if you think about it, if we were wild animals, if we got an infection, we would die, right? So there is a time and place for modern medicine. We don't want to be using it for chronic illnesses and all these other things that are mainly diet and lifestyle related, which we will talk about lifestyle in a bit here. But we have to be consistent with our choices. Definitely. If you're going to be raw and you're going to, or even just high raw or whatever, low fat, be consistent with it.
It's really interesting because, like we were talking this morning, it's almost like you should, if you're thinking about being vegan and you already eat the standard diet, the transitional foods are going to be key for you because they taste delicious. The fat content is all there. It's a science project.
The
sugar,
spices.
Everything is like, it's dialed in the laboratory.
They gotta hook you.
Yeah.
They gotta get you off the animal products. So it's gotta taste good.
That's a way of life. A standard diet is a way of life. Standard, what do we call standard vegan, diet is a way of life. Whole food, plant-based.
Low fat,
being cooked. That's a way of life. And then raw vegan, or fruitarian. Fruitarian basically is 70% of your caloric intake being from fruit, is a whole way of life.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of tricky because you have to pick which boat you're going to be in. Like, which boat do I want to sail in? You can't really jump from boat to boat because that's gonna make the internal terrain. The armies that are in our guts are going to go, all right, wait, who are we deploying today?
The thing is that with every meal that you consume, you are changing your gut to good or bad. You are, your gut bacteria isn't like it's not the same years and years, right? It changes hour by hour. It changes meal by meal. So we have to be careful with what we're putting in. And this is a huge reason why I don't support cheat days.
Right.
Because if you eat a cheat meal and say it's high fat and processed food, these two things are going to interfere with your gut flora and your insulin and all kinds of other things in your body, and it's not worth it to do this just because we feel like we need to have a cheat or we're stressed out or whatever.
And so you're eating a lot of your high fruit, you're fruitarian basically, but you have a party and you eat some transitional vegan food because you're vegan, right? Let's just say you're vegan. You're not gonna, but it's cooked. Now, so that's the bowel transit time may be messed with, most likely, because your system is not geared up and prepared for that. If you're living, say, in one boat. So that's going to cause some issues. And then it just compounds. It's a trip how it compounds on top of each other.
It does. And raw veganism and all of that isn't immortality.
Yeah, we're not going to live forever.
We're not going to live forever. And I mean, there's little things that we experience. We are living the healthiest that we know based on everything that we've researched and everything. But
and once in a
I
while,
still get a zit here and there.
And once in a while, like last night, we got together with some really awesome people and we had great conversations and we ate, our raw vegan, Mexican bowl, which was delicious. And then we went out for, to continue the conversation because the other place was closing down. And so we got a raw vegan cashew piece of cheesecake, and this was delicious. It was peanut butter chocolate. It was basically like a Snickers cheesecake. And it wasn't very big, like it's like 2 inches wide, nice sliver. And we split that in half. So I don't necessarily feel as ridiculous this morning as, say, if I ate the whole piece. But I'm telling you what, it's definitely a little different though, because the air that may be coming out, like you can tell.
You can tell, and we experience these things, but we don't blame our, like we okay, I don't want to say we don't blame our diet as a whole. We know the things that are causing these things in our body. We listen to our body's whispers, so we don't listen to our body's screams. And we know when we have a raw cheesecake or when we have nutritional yeast or whatever, we still eat it. But we know it's not necessarily the most ideal thing, but we don't blame raw veganism. We don't blame veganism for these issues. We know what they are.
And of course, all of these things that we're basically predominantly discussing is just one spoke of that wheel. If we have a wheel And each spoke represents something different. One is your diet. You know, the other spoke is your sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you going to bed on time? Another is your stress. You know, are you really stressed out? Are you around people that are very negative?
How's your job? Is it really stressful?
Our hydration. Are we drinking enough water? This is a water-based machine, you guys. This is a water-based, organic, biological computer. It's an amazing machine that our souls get to drive around. And our minds are very powerful. So if all of these different things are different spokes, diet's only one of them.
Yeah.
And so when there's imbalances throughout the wheel and you're only focused, you're hyper-focused on one, it's not going to roll right.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, on that topic, going to yoga. Bikram yoga, I go almost every single night to Bikram yoga. It's the same poses, it's the same teachers, it's the same routine.
Is exactly
everything.
the same.
The room is heated, the same temperature.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the same clothes. I'm using the same mat. Everything is the same. I'm drinking the same amount of water at class. The thing is that I change with every class.
Yeah.
And I'm really noticing little discrepancies in my day, like how I go, like what time I go to bed, what time I wake up, if I move in the morning, if I move during the day, if I drink enough water, if I eat enough calories.
Talking about movement. So there we go. There's another thing. Say we're on this, fast. We're like, you know what? We're actually we're feeling amazing. We're super healthy. But let's do this fast, and let's do it better than our friends. Instead of going 27 days, we're doing 29 days. We're doing 30 days. And we're not moving because we're fasting. You're supposed to rest, right? So you're not moving. That's also going to play into effect, too, with
how you're feeling. Yeah.
And it's so crazy how all of these things can compound on each other.
Yeah, and influences, too. Like people around you. Something I like to talk about too is frame of reference. So I have never ever had an oyster ever in my entire life.
You're not missing much.
Thank you.
It's like a snotty kind of, I mean, unless you have like horseradish on it, it's not that enjoyable to me personally.
Totally.
You're not missing
But there are people who absolutely love oysters.
Right.
And because I've never had an oyster, I have no idea what they taste like. Therefore, I won't crave an oyster. I don't go up to an oyster bin and be like, oh, my body needs that.
Right.
Because I've never had it, so I don't have that connection with it. But somebody who's had really good experiences with oysters, or maybe they grew up with their grandpa, fishing for them or something, maybe they have that connection. So when they see them, their brain connects all of those good, positive memories. Yeah. And suddenly they crave it. They're like, I want this. My body needs it.
Yeah.
And listening to your body that way isn't necessarily proper. You're just going based off of frame of reference. So we've got people like Nimai, who's a vegan, who's been vegan his entire life, who doesn't crave meat because he's never had meat. Right. So he doesn't, it's like, I really, like, it's not a craving. Yeah. But those of us who have really good experiences, like barbecues with your kids or with your friends and holidays and all of this, like good memories linked with animal products, brings those cravings to a different level because we have a frame of reference. So when we have influences, we've got a lot of people maybe going back to eating fish and eggs. Those seem to be the things that all the vegans are going back to. Like they feel it's
all the ex-vegans.
It's ex-vegans, yes. Or not even being vegan in the first place.
Yeah.
But that's another topic that we don't want to get into because we don't want to attack people for their character. We're just kind of observing what's going on.
It's just interesting. It's interesting how, if we had an issue and it was bothering us so much and we've tried everything that we can try, because we're living a certain way, and we go to the doctors and the doctors gives us the options. Okay, you can follow this plant-based protocol. Let's just say we had SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and that's from we just did a 40-day water fast doc, and
our intestines not moving.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on. They're like, okay, look at you can't eat. Before we did the water day, fast, we're fruitarian. We're 70-80% fruit. Well, then they were going to say, okay, you can't eat fruit because that's going to feed the wrong military, you know,
Yeah.
and so we're thinking, okay, I can't eat fruit. All I can eat is, what can I eat? And they give you a full protocol of what you can eat. And they say you can do that and take antibiotics, or you can take antibiotics, or your Chinese herbs on both spectrums, and start incorporating more animal products into your diet. So what would you do?
I would definitely always do the plant-based.
You would do
always. I would always find a way.
Take the antibiotics. Don't mess around, especially if the science is there. They've done the studies on your fecal matter. They've done the blood tests. All right, the system's been addressed. I 100% would be right there with you. It would be a no-brainer. I'd be like, hook me up. What do I need? Because I know my body is so resilient to all of the damage that I have been doing to it for the last 40 years. I grew up on, funk and boxed foods. I'm still okay. There's people that are, in their 60s and they're,
90s who are still eating like
hardcore.
toast
I'm starting their day off with coffee and
KFC.
drinking a beer at lunch, and they've got some hard alcohol or wine at night, and it's like no water. We're going to be okay. The antibiotics aren't going to kill us.
No, they're going to bring down the imbalance, at which point you can rebuild your proper balance.
Yeah.
So we don't need to be scared of finding these alternatives that are vegan. And we have a huge community of people who are willing to help and who want to help.
That's another amazing
we need
thing.
To reach out so we can help you.
I think you and I both would be like, hey, who out there can help us? This is what we're going through. This is what the doc says.
Yeah.
We're thinking this. I know that most people that tune into us or whatnot would be there for us, as well as other doctors. And it's so amazing how that's so easy to, you're maybe kind of embarrassed and you don't want to share, yet you share everything. You're sharing your daily routine, you're sharing what you eat and what toothpaste you use. Why wouldn't you share excuse me something so important as
very important to share things like that, because that's what this whole thing is about. We are sharing our journey, and if you're going to be going through something, we need to reach out to those.
It's a community.
It's a community.
This is different than the community that we're a part of, and all of you guys that are that we love and that tune in and we have connections with, and we respond to each other. It's a community. It's different than, say, if we're just posting videos on NASCAR or something or whatever. Not to dog any kind of whatever, but it's like, this is our community, and this community is a whole different, it's a tight-knit kind of community in a sense. Now, say I've only got maybe X amount of followers. Do I want to promote something else to get more followers? Things can be kind of like derailed because you're trying to make more money. Or gain more.
And like the restaurants, for example, I've been approached by many companies, like bar companies and protein powder companies and supplement companies and all these places, restaurants and all of that, trying to get me to be an ambassador or to promote or whatever. And that's not what I'm about. I am about trying to get you guys to eat more fruits and vegetables and to help you with your food addictions and to release those non-food items that you are keeping in your diet. That is my mission. That's Nate's mission. We are trying to inspire you and help you to find that health. I am not here to accept money or get paid $2,000 or $3,000 to go to a restaurant and eat their food and share it on my social media and be like, hey guys, go here. The restaurants I share on my social media are restaurants that I go to because I eat there. I'm not going to go somewhere just to get paid, and I don't want to deceive my following and all of you guys, because I love you all so much, and I don't want to deceive you by being like, oh yeah, now we're eating cooked food and it's all good and blah blah blah, because maybe I'm not feeling so great. because some of these people have not been feeling great for years, yet they're on their social media saying they feel great, and they're still selling their products, promoting this diet that isn't making them feel so great. So just on that note, I feel great. To be transparent, I do get the random zit. I do get random gas if I sit for long periods of time after eating. These things happen, and like we said, raw isn't an immune, like, immortality, fountain of youth. We're just doing the best we can.
And it makes me like wonder too, what would I be like if I had this mindset that I have now? Of course, of course, it wouldn't be the same if I was in my 20s. If I was in my 20s, you were in your 20s, and we're like, you know what? We found raw veganism, and, you know, we're different people. We change decade by decade, realistically. So it's interesting to picture how we would respond if we were in our 20s. And I'm not saying that, like, you know, that whatever, trying to put, you know, I'm not trying to put anybody down if they're in their 20s or whatever. I'm just thinking, like, it's interesting how our mindsets shift over time. And
hey, when I was 20, I thought I knew everything.
Right. And so I don't know, because it's just interesting, the social media, you know, how it can play into
and
effect.
The influence and making money on social media, and changing your platform in order to get more followers, because maybe you can address more people, which I understand. But if you are promoting a diet that is heavy in the processed foods, you can't expect your followers to feel optimum levels of health. And that is where I feel great conflict. Like, it hurts my soul, because we've got these amazingly delicious foods, most of which I've never had and never will, but there's these amazing foods. They smell awesome when they're cooking, and they taste awesome, like you say, right here. And they're saving animals. That's the part that I'm conflicted about, is that these foods are saving animals. And that's my ethical soul is like, this is amazing. But these people eating these foods and transitioning over to veganism, using this stuff, might not feel that great, and therefore eventually they end up falling off because they're like, this isn't feeling so great.
They could fall off, or they could just be like, I still feel pretty much the same. I still drink my coffee with my almond milk creamer, and I you know, stock Beyond sausage in my fridge and freezer, and that's just their way of life. And it's like, everybody's here on a different journey. Not everybody came here to feel like the best they can, or to want to take a hike when they're 60 something or 70 something. You know, some people just came here to wreck themselves and to party. And it's awesome that there is all these transitional foods out there, you know, to live that life. But yeah, it's interesting though, because like we're talking about the boats, like, you know, it's like, which one do you want to live in? You know, because it's really tricky to jump all around, you know, and if you like fruit and you don't eat very much fruit, it's just a little bit of fruit here and there, you pretty much are a processed vegan. You know, you eat pretty much just mostly processed vegan foods, you know, breads and pastas, you know, the mock meats and cheeses and milks and ice creams and pizzas, and
you have a salad as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, maybe you have a small little side salad every once in a while. You're probably gonna be fine. But if you're pretty much like hanging out in the other boat, which is more like the raw vegan boat or the fruitarian boat, and you're trying to jump over, you know, periodically a few times a week to the other boat, because, you know, there's these restaurants, you guys, that are so awesome. We aren't voting with our dollar that we want mangoes in Canada. If everybody's screaming for mangoes in Canada and they want ripe mangoes in Canada, we have the technology to be able to build like a West End Mall size building that can grow fruit trees hydroponically and aeroponically inside of a building, like massive greenhouses. These, you know, using geothermal and solar power, like these are the kind of things I like to envision, like more futuristic. It's just the craziest concept. Or having your tower gardens in these hotels. Every room has, you know, every single room has sprouts, fresh sprouts that are growing, wheatgrass that's growing. These are the kind of things that we could vote for if we wanted to live in that particular boat. But we're screaming for it. We're in an evolutionary period. You know, we're not really there yet. We're screaming for a burger that has no animal in it.
Yeah.
And so the corporations, the people that are, you know, own these corporations, and you know, they want our money, man. Like, that's why they're making coconut milk and coconut ice cream and cashew. Have you guys tried cashew chocolate milk or almond chocolate milk?
And see, that's a frame of reference. I've never had it, so
I have, because I have kids and they're vegan and they're kids, man. Like, I'm not gonna force my, you know, come on into my boat. I'm trying to make my boat as appealing as possible. But cashew chocolate milk, you guys, it's ridiculous. And we're screaming for it. We're like, hey, give us a plant-based alternative, right? And so that's what these companies are doing. But it's really tricky because we have to decide which end of the spectrum we're going to stay on predominantly. And if you or I were to go on, we're not sick, maybe a little sick and twisted, just slightly, but we're like, hey, let's just, you know, let's do a full body cleanse reset. You know, and we're so like jonesing after 40 days of water fasting. You know, we're like, okay, let's go back to high fruit. Ooh, probably not the way to break the fast. And then we're wreaking havoc on our system, and it's just a slippery slope. There we go. It's just, that's what I'm seeing in this arena. That's why we're making the video. That's why we're doing the live. It's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This is seriously going on. Yeah. But it's not necessarily to be scared out there, because this movement is going nowhere but up.
Yeah, this movement is bigger than YouTube.
It's so huge.
YouTube helps people to be inspired and to find out what's going on.
And what's interesting too is the younger generation are way more into, you know, they know how to work the algorithm situations. I don't know. Like, I'm just now getting into this whole world of social. I've only been on for a couple years. But say we're in our teens and our 20s, and we have like a massive impact because we know a lot of people and we're really pretty or whatever the case is. And we have, you know, we're like 100,000 followers or something. The experience, the life experience, we don't have because we're teens, 20s, even 30s. And we just got into, oh, I'm a raw vegan. You know, like, I'm a raw vegan, and it's been 2 years. I literally know hardly anything. I'm sticking true with the people that I have met, and I have met someone who is a 42 plus year raw vegan, and he was a man, and that's why I connected with him so well. I was like, you're a dude, I'm a dude, I want to be like you, dude. And he was skiing. That's where I met him, on the ski lift. I have my snowboard on. And this cat was 86 years old sitting next to me, reversed his colorectal cancer at the age of 44 when he, what was her name, Ann?
Ann Wigmore, I think.
And maybe Ann Wigmore. He got into sprouted foods, and he eats nothing but raw living foods. He doesn't bounce around, and he's not on social media, because I'm like, you on Facebook? And he's like, no. So how many individuals are out there who have like amazing life experiences? I'm talking like 20, 30, 40 plus years living a certain lifestyle, maybe a fruitarian lifestyle. Fruitarian being 70% of your caloric intake, mainly coming from fruit. There's probably a lot of them. But we don't know about them because they're not on these platforms. But what we do know is we know the younger generation, and they're flip-flopping. They're like, cool, yeah, I'm raw vegan, y'all. I'm doing this, and that's just tricky because the life experience, it's not there. It's like, like Gary Vee talks about, and I really like it. It's like you've got, somebody who's, 18, 19, or 20, and they're posting that they're an entrepreneur. Like, they don't have any experience yet, like realistically, I mean, they may be like, I was an entrepreneur back in school. I sold candy at school. Like, but
you just have the entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah,
but
the spirit.
You don't have the life experience
exactly
to, come on. And then I see a lot of people start channels early, and I'm not saying not to do this.
Totally.
But just share your journey and be transparent.
Be transparent. If you're already going to be transparent, might as well be transparent. And, you know, if we were having some issues and we were transparent, like you guys, we're really freaking scared here. Like,
help us.
Our bowel movements aren't regular. We're having extreme bloating, a lot of pain. Okay, you know, we're gonna get the SIBO test. We're gonna do the fecal test. Like, let's see what's going on in the gut.
And we would share that with you guys. We would be open with you, and
then of course, you know, what would be awesome is we would gather more power and confidence within ourselves because of all of you guys who are tapping in and going, "Yo, Nate, Liz, you guys, stay strong. Don't eat eggs and fish. Just like follow the protocol."
Yeah.
And it's not like doctors are bad people, man. Like, doctors get into their field
for the most part
to help people. There are some that want the letters behind their name, or they like the paycheck, you know, I mean, after they pay back the $500,000 in student loans or whatever. But there are some that are really genuinely passionate about helping people. And man, we can't take what they're saying lightly. And that's another thing that we're seeing in this arena, this vegan arena, is that there's raw vegan doctors. You know, not like, this isn't, you know, I mean, not to say anything. There's infinite possibilities that exist.
Yes.
These aren't mediums, right? I mean, they're using actual science and studies. They're looking in the microscope, you know, they're not feeling energies. Right? Not to say that doesn't exist and that's not a possibility. Infinite possibilities exist.
Yeah. But we gotta really, like, when it's life and death, you have to really take into account what is going to help you right now. We can't expect that maybe going on a water fast is going to heal you when you have something that can be solidly fixed with medicine. And
friends don't let friends eat friends.
I love that.
Right?
That was Symbiotic Solutions posted that.
Friends don't let friends eat friends.
Yeah.
Eating our friends, how is that supposed to switch it up on the internal side? It's just not going to work that way.
Yeah, totally. And it's not like, this isn't healing them. That's the thing. They are masking their symptoms, and fish and eggs don't get rid of SIBO.
It's really interesting, too, how powerful our minds are. They have done placebo studies for who knows how long, hundreds of years. Our minds are so powerful. So you could be like, you know, whatever, say we're like, you know, oh my gosh, I had an egg. I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Like, is it real? Do you really feel better? Or is it literally your mind that is kind of overpowering what you're actually feeling?
And the thing is that if these people, if these people are flip-flopping back and forth between different diets here and there, trying to figure out what's going on, and then suddenly now they're eating fish and eggs, that's another flip-flop. That's, they're trying something, and then maybe they feel good right now, but that does not mean that they are going to feel good in the long term if they're not addressing the root cause. And if the root cause is, say, the water fast, or not eating enough, or doing too much juice, or whatever, this is what caused the problem. It's not that antibiotics are a Band-Aid. The antibiotics are going to get rid of the excessive growth that was caused from not eating enough, or water fasting, or any of those other reasons that created the problem in the first place. So the antibiotics are kind of just like, okay, we've gone too far, now we have to bring things back into balance, and it might actually go further over to the imbalanced side, and then we have to rebuild our gut bacteria. So I just want you guys to know that we would do anything in our power to stay vegan and to stay on our ethics and to not go on any extreme things. And I've never done anything extreme with flip-flopping over my diet. Like, I've never done like banana island or watermelon island or water fasting for 30 days. I've been solid with my
just eat an abundance of delicious fruits and vegetables, little amounts of nuts and seeds, chronometer our stuff, making sure we're hitting our numbers. It's really like so simple. It realistically is so simple. In a lot of ways.
It is very simple, and we like to, like what you say, mental masturbation. We like to
We're complicating
overthink everything.
I mean, realistically, in this arena, and we're making this video for the people because we want to share our thoughts. I mean, of course, this is, if you're in this arena, it's heavy on all of our minds. And of course, it's great on the ex-vegan minds too. I mean, it's heavy on their minds too. Like, they're cheering like, oh my gosh, the ex-vegan movement is growing. These vegans are scared. No, we're not. We're not scared when there's multi-trillion-dollar companies investing in the trends, which are us voting for more plant-based products. But I feel massive compassion and sympathy or empathy for these individuals who are having such a rough time. And like,
they don't deserve to be treated with disrespect.
They're struggling.
They're struggling, and we need to be there for them when if they need us. And I wish that I could help in some way. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a nutritionist. I just know that there are people out there that can help, and they need to reach out and be part of this community. We're all about the love, and we can't be mean vegans, guys.
Yeah.
Don't treat them with disrespect.
Can't be mean vegan.
We are only observing.
It's really sad, because I can understand perspectives. You're trying to live as clean and as back to nature as you can. You don't want to put synthetic pharmaceuticals into your system. I totally dig it. Like, I get it. Like, I feel for him. I understand that feeling because I don't either. But there's the reason that we over time have evolved into the species that we are is because there's a balance between Eastern and Western.
Yes.
There is a balance there, like traumas, you break an arm, you have a massive infection, a tooth infection that could go to your brain and potentially kill you. We've invented things in the labs to be able to combat these certain infections and these certain imbalances. And it's just an imbalance. And I feel bad. I really do feel bad.
Yeah. And our heart goes out to them, and we wish them all the best in their healing, and hopefully they can figure out what's going on so they can come back to a plant-based diet, maybe even feel that ethic again and come back to veganism.
And sure, like, it's easy to say like all the nasty things. I mean, we have both the guys on our shoulder. We got the good voice and the bad voice and the ego and all the stuff. And it's easy to say. It's really easy to say, oh well, they never were vegan if they were gonna go. It's just, man, they're all obviously, it's tricky because they're lost.
Yeah, they are. And we have to treat them with as much love as we possibly can, being compassionate to them, and helping them to see what's going on. Because when you're in the situation, you don't always see things from all the other angles.
Right.
You are so in your head trying to heal because you don't feel good. And yeah, it can just be a mess. But we are here for anybody who needs us. Don't hesitate to message.
Reach out.
Can be found on Instagram mainly, and Twitter at Raw Food Romance. You can find me on Facebook, Lissa's Raw Food Romance. I'm on YouTube, and you can find Nate on anywhere with Raw and Eddie Nate. So please reach out if you have any issues. And
if any of you guys want to do a podcast, we started a podcast channel. Each of us have our own podcast, and that's just another platform where we can talk to each other, and we can go on rants and whatever. We can have discussions and topics that what brought you to where you are. If you're a vegan, or say you're not a vegan, reach out. Like, why aren't you vegan yet?
Yeah, totally, right? And we could talk about all kinds of stuff on our podcast. So if you're interested, send us a message.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have you on our show. But yeah, so we just wanted to make this video kind of like an observation video.
Aurelie,
support.
I would love to have you on my podcast.
Yes, and I want to have Aurelie on my podcast too.
Now, Aurelie, Raw Vegan Doctor, you guys, if you're not following her, go check her out.
Yeah.
Raw Vegan Doctor. She puts out a YouTube every single day. She's a neuropathologist. She is actually looking in the microscope and she diagnoses what stage your cancer is at. And she's a raw vegan and she runs in 5-finger Vibram shoes. Like, she's definitely putting all of these, you know, what do you say, to bed.
She knows what she's talking about. So follow her. She's going to be at the Canada Fruit Fest with us. We are going to be at the Canada Fruit Fest, UK Fruit Fest, and Woodstock. So come and be part of the community. If you're having issues, there's tons of people there who can help you as well.
Yeah.
And if we can't help you, we can get you in contact with somebody who
and
can.
We don't know everything. Like, I know like hardly anything, realistically. But we're all connected, right? And we have social media. We've got these platforms that we can reach out to one another and say someone has an issue and they come to us. We're like, I don't know, but let's find out. So we're digging. We're trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But there's no reason to go back to eating dead things.
Exactly.
There's
that's
just
the whole
no
basis of it all.
There's just that's the basis of this whole gig. We personally, the two of us were like, what the heck? We're never going to go back to eating dead things.
Yeah. And I get asked that a lot. Like, Lissa, are you still vegan? Hope you're still vegan. Oh my gosh, I hope you're still vegan. I will always be vegan.
Forever.
Forever. And I don't ever want to go back.
If we are what we eat and we feed on death,
then we can just expect.
We can expect to just feel like poo. We're all going to die, though.
Yeah.
A raw vegan diet or fruitarian diet or whatever, we're not immortal.
Yeah, all diets are going to be deficient in something in some way, shape, or form. So we have to really make sure that we're on top of our game and getting what we need. But like you said, we don't know everything. The only thing that I know is that junk food and animal products are not food, so I'm not going to eat them.
And it's really interesting because vegan junk food and vegan imitation animal products are also not real food.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Our live is going to end in a couple minutes, so we wanted to say goodbye. And thank you so much. This video will be up on both of our YouTube channels, so you can check those out. Again, make sure you check out Nate's Raw Natty Nate. And please stay true to your beliefs and hold on tight to that. Reach out if you need help.
Yeah.
We are here for you.
We're here for you. And like we said, message us if you want to do a podcast with us.
Yes.
We really want to have more discussions. And
Totally.
everybody has a story, and everybody's story could possibly affect someone else in a positive way to become vegan. It's really the wave of the future. It's not a trend. It's not going anywhere. It's going up. It's going infinitely upwards. Definitely.
Yes.
Until next time, you guys.
Love you all.
Love you.
And fruit on.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Leave me some comments below. Go follow my love, Lissa. She can be found on all the social media platforms.
Yes. Instagram and Twitter at Raw Food Romance. Facebook and YouTube at Lissa's Raw Food Romance. I'm also on Anchor. You can find my podcasts now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Anchor. And also Snapchat, Lissa Raw Vegan.
Exactly. It's so good. All these different platforms.
It's so true. And they can find you over there too.
That's right. That's right. I'll be all over there as well. Raw Natty Nate. Till next time, guys. Love ya.
Fruit on.